أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على حبيبنا المصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم وبعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وإياكم ومحدثات الأمور فإن كل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار وبعد. Beloved ones, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As promised, as the case is, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we promised to talk or give a little bit of highlight regarding the importance of halal investment. Before that, we have got Brother Brian here with his team from Kiwi Halal Amana, which is inshallah, they are going to be given a few minutes after my small talk, bi'idhnillah. Tonight we have a different way of doing things here. And then he would be telling us about the KiwiSaver and the Halal Amana, how we can do it and which way to do it. And then they will be available to talk, and there are sisters at the back to coordinate also bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. All this has been verified and checked by the ulamas locally and overseas. Wa jazakumullahu khairan. Starting with قال الله سبحانه وتعالى أحل الله البيع وحرم الربا. أحل الله البيع وحرم الربا, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it legal, halal, any form of trade and transactions which is acceptable Islamically, وحرم الربا, and Allah has declared usury interest as being something which is illegal, forbidden, not only to us but those who were before us. There are hundreds of verses even in the Bible, in existence of those Bible which we have, prohibiting dealing in as such. Business or working or whatever, whichever you do, in the end, we all are in need of means of survival. The means of survival definitely originally in raw materials are exactly what it was and will be. But how to utilize it and what to do with it changes. As much as in the beginning, anything you wanted from somebody, either you had it by yourself in the very beginning, or with the barter system which they had, they started to change. And then later on, that barter system progressed till they had certain types of things with which they would make it a medium of exchange, such as salt in parts of Africa, shells in coastal areas, and so forth. So whatever it will be in that particular region, the ruler of that place, the chief or whatever, they would decide, okay, this looks precious, so this becomes a way of medium of exchange. And then it developed further till other means were taken, such as copper, lead, and then which is possibly not known to many. And then after that was developed the silver and gold, and from that comes dinar and dirham, as we know, original of gold and silver coins. And in duration of that, things went up and down and whatever, and main value was considered Islamically to be dinar, and then that's the golden coin dirham, and then the nickels, what is known as fulus. Today, technically, when we say fulus, ask any Arabs, they would only be able to tell you it means money. But fulus in Lughatul Fiqh, in the original of the medieval age, it referred to the copper nickel coins. That was like cents which we have. We have dollars and cents. So that was referred to as something more or less in value. And then the very first, we know, paper money started to come. Originally more it started in China. Hundreds of years. It was not exactly the way we deal with paper money currently. It is a money in a form of receipt. So if you put something somewhere in storage somewhere or something, they would give you a receipt, and that stood for that amount of money. You could give it to anybody else for that so you can take that receipt and buy anything equal to that in value. So it started from there till it developed, and then based, because remember, this paper money in China is starting with the original value going in gold or silver or other precious materials. That is how it started to be backed up by gold and silver originally all over the world. And then in the last century, 100 plus years, when that started, then they started to back it up with gold or silver, as I said. And then there were certain hiccups in France and many other places. And then they decided to back it up with other forms of something precious, such as Germany. They went to agricultural and so forth, land and whatever, without going in the details of those. Then later on, this paper money started to become prosperous. Now, the scholars Islamically and also those who act in accounts and whatever financial markets, they differ. Is this that money is supposed to be backed up, this cash money to be backed up by gold and silver? Anyway, I do not want to bother you people with the details, but what I come with the conclusion that paper money itself is it's an entity within itself. It does not need any form of gold or silver as a backup. That is what the truth should be, because you can see many countries they have backups, many others they don't. It's what people they feel safe with, and that is how it becomes valuable. So money, Islamically, what I consider bi'idhnillah is an entity with its own value, nothing to do with gold and silver. So it depends on the countries, how good they are, how well they market themselves, and that's it. Simple as that. You just cannot go and start printing money and people will accept it. We also know that. Going from here, now coming to other side. The importance of halal investment. Before that, let us see the importance of money, and then we would, from that, would know what is halal investment, or how important is that. First of all, قال صلى الله عليه وسلم اليد العليا خير من اليد السفلى, that the hand which gives is better than the hand which receives. فاقد الشيء لا يعطيه, what you don't have, you don't give. So for you to be اليد العليا, to be amongst the givers and not the recipient, you need the money. So to need the money, you have to know the ways of making money, right? And we do know that though it is true that money cannot buy everything, but whatever is halal and is for sale can be bought by money in many sense, as we know. There are things which you can't buy. Iman, faith, you can't buy with money, but you can promote it if you have the Iman itself with money. So it is important. Without that, the life is very, very, very difficult. We all know, and you are all big boys and big girls. You do understand the importance of this. However, also Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Al-mu'min al-qawi khayrun wa habbun ila Allah min al-mu'min al-da'if." That a mu'min who is powerful, qawi, powerful, is more beloved to Allah than a weak mu'min. Now, strength, do not consider it only in one aspect. One is the faith. With faith, there are so many other tenets coming in. And then there are so many branches. Part of that is money. Part of that is so many else. It's not the health and only or things like that. It's associated with many things. So it's not what it is in itself, but what you are able to do with that power which you have. If it is money, what you do with it. If it is the knowledge which Allah gives you, that is ahab ilallah min al-jahil, isn't it? But what you do with the knowledge is the requirement. So the iman, if you are given iman, that's definitely the positive. It cannot be anything else. So and so forth. So this is why al-mu'min al-qawi ahabbun ilallah min al-mu'min al-da'if. Keeping all these things in mind, and then the importance of spending in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, making a masjid, running a masjid, needs money. Maintaining your family needs money. Maintaining yourself needs a lot of money. Whatever you do, it needs money, right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also, he said, لأن تترك أهلك أولادك عيالك, your family, لأن تتركهم أغنياء خير من أن تتركهم فقراء عيالا على الناس كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم يتكففون الناس أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. That if you leave behind your family, that it starts with your wife and your children first and foremost, and then the rest, while they are self-sufficient because of what you are leaving them behind with, is better than to leave them poor while they are totally dependent on others and begging others to survive on. So all of these encourages us to go for things which are halal. I might as well mention that the biggest growing market in the entire world is halal market. And it cannot be ignored. And everybody knows it, including New Zealand. It's not, when we think halal, it means to take a knife, say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. No, that's a very small part of it. When we say it's in trillions of dollars, it's growing so fast that there is no stop to it. And there is no other market in the entire world which is growing faster than that. Be it food industry, investments, or whatever, everything comes with halal. Everything comes halal, 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 halal. Because halal is suitable for everybody, and if it is not halal, it is not suitable to more than quarter population of this world. Simple as that. So when people, they deal in business, they look where they are going to maximize their profit. And this is from where they are coming. And it is a blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah has given us the opportunities that we don't want to lag behind in these kind of things. And then, such as being in New Zealand, we do have difficulties at present in many kind of things. Mostly we get stuck up in buying a house. There are other minor, smaller ones, and that's easy to get away from. Or there are so many other things, right? So these kind of things are the beginning of those kind of things which we want as a big stuff. And when it comes to Kiwi Amana, those who know and are aware of KiwiSaver, they know how it deals with basically your money, whichever you put aside as an investment or on continuous basis in installments, it is basically taken and invested for you. But you have no idea where it is invested and in what. So this is where this Amana trust comes, where they are only going to invest in things which are halal, and which means that you are sure that it is going to be halal when any form of profit comes to you. Now, it is with no guarantee, as there is no guarantee in this world, and business is always based on profit and loss. If they guarantee, today Amana guarantees 100% you are always going to benefit, I will say tomorrow it is not halal at all. Because there is no guarantee, it will be no different between this and a conventional bank, which guarantees your money plus the interest which they give. And this is not the case when it comes to proper Islamic trade and transaction. Wa jazakumullah khairan. As I started with, letting you brothers know the importance of dealing in halal and so forth. So let us today listen from Brother Brian what he wants to convey to us regarding this in the limited number of minutes which he has required. And after that, inshallah, you can socialize and ask him more. And remember, whatever you invest or go through, because of Masjid Taqwa, which you should mention, some form of, inshallah, benefit financially would be coming also to the Masjid. Wa jazakumullah khairan, please.
Thank you, Shaykh. And I need that. Okay. Thank you, Shaykh, and thank you for inviting me here. It's very hard to follow a promotion as good as that before you start. KiwiSaver is a government scheme. It's set up by the New Zealand government because when the little one's here, and this wonderful little Islamic scholar who was nice to hear this tonight, gets to 65, there will not be enough money in this country or enough population to pay superannuation. So this was a start to help people save for themselves. For those of us that are heading up too quick to 65, it won't do much for us. But it's about the children, and it's about building a business that will look after the money for our children. There are 25 KiwiSaver providers in New Zealand. 25. Only one is halal, and that's Amana Ethical. Now, to say you're halal is not just saying the fund where we invest your money is halal, but to say that we as a manager is halal. And there's a really good reason why you should have a manager who's halal. and that is simple. We stick with the Islamic financial principles. So we don't have debt. We don't borrow money as a manager. We as a manager work on and work from the principles of halal, which is to good for mankind. And it took me a while to understand the concept of halal, but I'll come back to that in a minute. There are three very solid reasons why I can say to you with total confidence, we will be halal at all times. The first reason is Shaykh Mohammad, who is the chairman of the Sharia committees of fiqh. He's also on the Ulama Council. He is the chairman of our Islamic Advisory Board. The second reason is Dr. Ahmed Rufai. Dr. Ahmed Rufai, some of you may know, was in the Waikato a few years ago. He is now the head of Sharia to the International Islamic Financial Markets in Bahrain. He is at the cutting edge of what is and what isn't Sharia Islamic financial principles scholarship. And we're really lucky to have him on board through our association with fiqh on the Islamic Advisory Board. The third is Associate Professor Farouk Barlay. Many of you will not know Farouk. He is a Turk. He came out to New Zealand about 10 years ago. He's worked at Massey. He's a doctor of finance. He's a doctor of economics. And he was introduced to us in the very early days when we were trying to work out how to build a Sharia compliant fund. And I have to confess, he basically told me to go and stand in the corner on my head and think the opposite way around to what we're thinking. He says you have to think halal, then apply Western principles. You can't apply Western principles and then think halal. You have to come from the heart, and you have to come from the concept that halal is about a moral, ethical code. And once I got in my head, I'm a barrister, I've been at it for 40 years, so I'm used to applying rules. Once I got it in my head, I had to start from the halal rules. It actually became very simple because the rules are quite clear, they're quite simple, except for some of the financial ratios, but that's looked after by the Islamic Advisory Board for me. And it really boils down to no money lending. The riba is more complex than just simply saying no money lending. The simplest Western explanation I can say is you're not allowed to rent money because that's not earning, working and doing what Sharia requires you to do. I come from a Protestant worth ethic, which is you work hard for your money and you save, and that's what I've always believed. So I've not found it hard to understand what halal actually means. But I'm helped because I've got Farouk and others around me in the business. But it's no money lending, no investment in alcohol, no investment in gambling, no investment in tobacco, nothing in weapons of war, no pornography, no pork. But it's more than just that. You have to stick within the Islamic financial principles with every business you deal with. They have to be doing something which is for the good of mankind. It's got to be something that's working and provides something everybody wants. The company has to work to make its money. So it can't just rent money out. We looked, when we were first looking at setting the fund up, at a company called John Deere, which makes tractors. Now you'd think that's a halal activity, but John Deere earns 55% of its income from renting money when people buy tractors. So we found out we had to find a way to really get inside of where we invest so we know what's happening. And we came across a company called Ideal Ratings in the United States. And it is a company owned by a gentleman from Egypt. And he has established a business where he actually investigates companies for Sharia compliance. So we've got an exclusive license from Ideal Ratings to all their research. And the first thing we do is we find out everything they know about the companies we want to invest in. We find out everything else we can find, and we do sometimes find things they haven't found, which we feed back to them. And then we go to the Islamic Advisory Board can we invest in this business? We have a range of companies approved way beyond what we invest in, so we hold always a book of where you're invested, because you see, the Islamic Advisory Board have said to us, you must check each investment every day, and if you suspect they're not halal, you must sell it. It's not if it's not halal, if you suspect it's not halal, you must sell it. So every morning at 8 o'clock, we check all of our investments through Ideal Ratings, and if a stock has got something coming that doesn't look right, we sell. It's that simple. So we keep the funds strictly Sharia compliant. Now, nobody can be perfect, and no Western investment is perfectly halal. It just doesn't happen. And there's big major American corporations now that are run by Muslims, strict Muslims, and they work hard to keep their companies halal. So we have a process called purification. So every month we look at what's happened. And if we find any investment has done something that shouldn't be, we donate a purification payment to charity. So while no one can always perfectly guarantee halal when you're dealing with Western companies, I can guarantee you that by purification, your investments are always halal. And as the Shaykh said, I can't guarantee you the return on your money because that is not halal. But I can guarantee you several things. Your investments will always be halal, and if there's a suspicion they're not, we purify to make sure they are. Second thing is, and this is why the world's heading to Islamic finance, Islamic financial principles or compliance with it means companies will not go broke because the ratios are so conservative. Money lending money, borrowing money under the trading rules is so conservative, those companies will not go broke. Companies go broke because of debt, and usually debt to banks. And it's usually the bank that sells them up, and away it goes, and you're in big trouble. Many of you won't remember, but in 1987, the BNZ went broke. It went bankrupt because it got the borrowings it had from overseas lenders called on, and it couldn't meet the payments. So banks, the way they're structured, breach the Islamic finance rules so badly, it is quite disturbing because people don't realise just how vulnerable banks are when the world changes. They all think, oh, it's a big bank, but big banks can and do go broke, and America showed that very effectively in 2009. Halal businesses did not go broke. We went to an Islamic conference in Singapore, and this was our first foray to going to an Islamic conference, and we turned up and there were not very many what I'd call Western banking faces there. Over a 2-year period, we suddenly find there's an awful lot there. Why? Because the only sector with money is the Islamic populations. The Western populations borrowed money, went broke in 2009, and have never recovered. Major American companies are increasingly becoming halal. Why? They want to be able to have Islamic investors. Now, they can't borrow from them, but they can have them come in as shareholders. So they actually want Islamic shareholding because then the Islamic people can participate, become part of the business, and they are consciously working at it. We have a series of filters we use where we go through the universe of what's available in listed companies that are halal. It's now 1,600 companies and growing. Every month that number is getting bigger and bigger. Why? Because executives know they have to start changing how they do business. 2 reasons. Yes, they want Islamic investment, but more importantly, they know that if they start to follow the Islamic investment financial ratios, their company is far more secure and far safe for their investors. But under our system, the way we run the investments for the KiwiSaver, the moment we suspect a company's taking on too much debt, starting to borrow, we sell it, we're gone. So we'll be out of the companies before they go broke. So I can guarantee you the manager will be Sharia compliant. I can guarantee you that your investments will always be Sharia compliant, because we do purify if we have to. We hate purifying because it costs money, but having said that, we're playing with people's souls, as Fruit keeps reminding me, so that's what we do, because that's the guarantee we give to you. Some other little things, a little bit more technical. Sharia compliance varies from country to country. Some governments interfere with what is Sharia compliance. We apply what is known as the IOFI standards. Now, IOFI was put together by a whole group of Islamic financial institutions. They sat down and they said, what is required to be compliant? There's no such thing as strict. You either comply or you don't. There are rule books where governments have come along and said, oh no, we're going to let you borrow money, we're going to let you do things like that. They are not Sharia compliant. We have, from day one, with Fruit's guidance, always said we are strictly Sharia compliant, and that's our guarantee to you. We would like to start a conversation with you about Amana KiwiSaver. Many of you are on KiwiSaver plans, and I can promise you, you don't know where your money is, because some of the KiwiSaver providers don't know where their money is. We have to file a quarterly return with the FMA saying, where's our money? And there's a box in it that says don't know. That's reality. A lot of them don't know. They give the money to this person, to that person, to this person, and by the time it gets to the bottom, no one can tell where the money actually is and what it's doing. We know exactly where every one of your dollars is, and you can see it on our website if you go and have a look where we got your money invested. I want to share with you the vision, because Amana Ethical is not just about KiwiSaver. KiwiSaver is where we are starting. And the start of KiwiSaver is we're investing into listed stock, because we are trying to build the book where we've got enough money to go and buy debt-free land. And what we're after is agricultural land that produces food. And the one thing I've found with the Islamic population in New Zealand is the world's leading experts on food production are right here. Meat, crops, you name it, chicken farming. Every time I go to a meeting and I have this part of my speech, someone comes up and says, oh, but have you thought about this? Because there's another form of agriculture they're in. Food is the one thing that will never lose value. And if you own a dairy farm right now, and you're running it by Islamic financial principles, you'll be making a lot of money. Because the only reason these farms aren't making money is debt to the banks. The banks gear the farmers to $5.50 a kilogram of milk solids as their break-even point. $3.40, $3.80, $4.50 is not going to pay the debts. But if you don't have the bank taking this huge whack of money out of you, they're still good businesses. So that's what we're talking about. The key thing we'd like to do tonight is get you to fill out the boards with your names and email addresses on it, so we can start a conversation with you about switching to or joining the KiwiSaver scheme. If you're not a member of a KiwiSaver scheme, you should join, because it's in your long-term interest to start saving, get the contribution from your employer, get the government tax incentives. They're all halal. Your money's halal, the employer's money's halal, the government's money's halal. It's all been checked out by the Ulama Council, and what we do with your money is halal. So to us, we'd like to start that conversation. If you're with another fund, we'd like to start a conversation with you about switching to us. It's very easy to do. You just complete the application form and we do all the work. Look, thank you very much for listening to me. It's much appreciated. This will be the first of many visits here. I'm slowly working around all the mosques, and I'll be back. And if you've got any questions, pick up the phone and talk to us, because halal means we're transparent. Halal means you're allowed to come and ask questions, and believe me, our investors do, and that's what we encourage, because that's what it's about. We have an annual meeting once a year, which most KiwiSavers don't do, but the FMA is now starting to make them do, because we see it as important to have this conversation. It's important you meet us, it's important you talk to us, it's important you can question us. And if you see something you don't think's halal, send us an email, we'll send it to the advisory board, because we have had from the floor information come which actually has surprised everybody about what some companies do, because you try your best but you don't always know what they're up to. So we are trying to develop the more input we can from people the better. Thank you, Shaykh.
Thanks, Brian. As you can see, it must have been very interesting. Nobody has gone away. Jazakumullah khairan. And Brother Brian is open to any questions right now for a few minutes, maybe 2-3 minutes. And then later on, inshallah, while brothers are having tea or juice or whatever, then you can carry on. And please do fill the you have forms. Is it a form or?
It's just a board with your name.
Okay. So you fill your address and contact numbers and emails, and they will contact you, inshallah. Wa jazakumullah khairan. Any questions, please?
Question to Brian.
Yeah.
You emphasized that the contribution by the government that comes into KiwiSaver is halal.
Yes.
How has that been authenticated that the contribution from the government is halal?
That is worked out by Shaykh Mohammad, and we have got a video that'll go online soon where he is saying that these are all covered. It's just like if you're a teacher and you're paid your salary by the government, it's coming from the same source. So all payments from the government are regarded as halal, because it's you receiving it is halal, and where it's come from. And when someone pays a bill in trading with you, where their money's come from doesn't matter. It's what you're doing, apparently, that's halal. Now, I'm not the Islamic scholar. I've sat with the Ulama Council and been through this with them, and this is what they rule. So it's a ruling, as I understand it, by them.
It's not important.
What's that?
Where the money comes from is not important.
That's my understanding of the debate that I heard. But
Receiving KiwiSaver money is exactly like work and income support. Exactly like those bills made up by the government for the hospitals which you go to. Is that clear now? It's exactly the
Where
same.
does the government get the money from?
The government is making money from you by tax or whatever. As far as they don't go and kill others in other countries to get the money from there, it doesn't matter. So naturally, whatever the government is making, there will be certain amount and percentage in it which won't be halal. That's for sure. Nobody doubts about that. But what is coming to you, you as a recipient, exactly like when you go and sell your business to somebody, he is buying from where he got the money, you have no idea, and you don't need to ask. Unless it is clear he stole from somebody in front of you or something like that. Wa jazakumullah khairan.
Just one question for Brian. You must have been trading for a year now, so Brian?
Yep.
What percentage dividend have you been able to pay so far?
we grew 30% in the last 12 months. That's after fees, after expenses, after tax.
So if somebody had put in $1,000, you would have given him like $300?
That's right. That's exactly what they got.
3% return.
Yeah, but we won't do that every year, because we've had a huge currency gain inside that. We work on a long-term vision, and it's nice when things like that happen. But the aim is we in sort of the hare and the turtle. We're the turtle. We're just keeping solidly going, and the markets go up, they go down. But so long as we do that, that's what we're after. I ran a fund from 2003, not halal, but not far from halal, because we didn't borrow. We had about 3 stock that weren't halal in the fund. After fees, expenses and taxes, and this is including going through the GFC, we returned 18%. That fund's now closed because you can't manage a non-halal fund as a manager, so we got rid of that. And that was part of what we did before we transitioned in. But yeah.
What is the percentage of your investment if you have that would be local?
We can't invest locally at the moment because there is no halal listed companies in New Zealand. Nothing in New Zealand is halal. That's why what we want to do is buy into farms, buy into agricultural land, and that means to agricultural businesses. One of the big problems with KiwiSaver is you can't invest KiwiSaver into start-up businesses because it's too high a risk. When you've got $1 billion under management, yes, maybe you can put a small fund aside to do that, but right now we're more intent on growing the KiwiSaver up to a level where it's able to pay its bills, can employ a decent team of staff. Then we want to bring in halal insurance, then halal home purchases. So our aim is to build an Islamic financial institution in New Zealand that provides across the immediate needs of the people. And the first need, the clear one where you can build a business, is KiwiSaver. So long as we get the support of the population, then we'll be able to bring insurance. And we're talking insurance right across the board for businesses, houses, property, but halal. And then we can do homes. You can't do homes until you've got an insurance system running. So that's the logical progression we're working on. So I hope that answers your question. But I'd love to invest in New Zealand, but I don't like any New Zealand companies at the moment with what they're doing, but they borrow too much money. Simple as that. Yes. And we are going to market to the non-Muslim population as an ethical KiwiSaver. And we're actually finding that a lot of people, once they understand what the moral ethical code is, actually become quite keen on what we're talking about now. When we closed down the old fund and moved to the new fund, we had a professional fund manager who had some money with us for his investors. We went to see him and we said, oh well, this is what we're doing. And of course, you all know, you say the word Islamic, you get sort of, And we said, hang on, this is what it's about. And I said, we don't invest in banks. And he stopped and looked at me, he says, all right, all my investors are in. We kept the whole lot, they shifted to the new fund because he understands not investing in banks. And then he started to understand that that actually means no riba, and he actually liked that. And he's not worried about tobacco and this and that because tobacco companies get sued these days and alcohol companies are going to go the same way because that's where the Western world's going. And he's now a great supporter of us. So he does put money into us and with us. Now he's both putting people over to KiwiSaver, and we've got a unit trust where they can put their household money to. He's doing both of those. So he's across the line. We're at Islamic Week last year in the Aotea Square, and we had a couple of Greens who came along and couldn't believe what the consequences of no rebar was to do with oil drilling and things like that, because there are some interesting things come from not being involved in rebar. And he started to get the idea, what you're talking about is doing things that are good for humanity. You got it in one, because that's the message. And we want to build to the point where we can start driving the message. You see, we'll be the only KiwiSaver that does not invest in banks, and that's our one big difference. So that's where we're heading to, and it's going to be fun in the marketplace. But I need support from this community to grow it, and it's a collective thing. And Fians came in as a part owner of the KiwiSaver to help us because they see it as good for the community. So we see it as a real win-win for everybody in this community. And as I say, we hope you look at our stuff, we hope you like it, we hope you join.
Thank you very much, Jazakumullah khairan, brothers. For any further questions and details, they will be with us here still, and we'll be coming back again in the further gatherings bi'idhnillah ta'ala wa jazakumullah khairan. Please fill in with your names and contacts and try to invest in where it matters most. Wa jazakumullah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.